I am Professor Carol Campbell, and since September 2024, I am Dean of Moray House School of Education and Sport at the University of Edinburgh in Scotland in the United Kingdom. I'm delighted to be able to share some of our work connected to the theme of education and education studies in the age of AI with the Global Education Deans Forum. At the University of Edinburgh, our Strategy 2030 is based on our purpose. As a world-leading, research-intensive university, we're here to address tomorrow's greatest challenges through a values-led approach to research, teaching and innovation, and building on our relationships locally and globally. While we're one of the first ancient universities in Scotland, indeed we were founded in the 1500s, we are forward-looking and future-focused with a commitment to innovation to improve our world. We're heavily involved in the fields of digital education, technology and artificial intelligence. For example, here in the UK, we're leaders in the infrastructure for supercomputing. A new development is the Edinburgh Futures Institute, which is where I am today. The Edinburgh Futures Institute was launched earlier this year, and the mission of the Edinburgh Futures Institute is to challenge, to create and to make change happen, to tackle some of today's very complex issues by bringing people together, both within the university but also externally, and working across disciplines in new interdisciplinary ways to generate hopefully new solutions for a better future and new possibilities. I'm pleased to say that the priority theme for the Edinburgh Futures Institute this year is education and learning. So, for example, we're currently having the Edinburgh Futures Conversations to consider possibilities for education. 3 big topics: crisis, utopia, and artificial intelligence. And Moray House School of Education and Sport are central partners and collaborators with the Edinburgh Futures Institute in this work. For example, we have a joint project about artificial intelligence and teaching in higher education. And then within Moray House School of Education and Sport, we have a range of research, teaching, practice and policy focused work, knowledge exchange, innovation and impact linked to digital education and artificial intelligence. For example, we host CALL Scotland. CALL is CALL. It stands for Communication, Access, Literacy and Learning. And the work of the CALL Scotland Centre is to work in partnership to support children and young people overcome disabilities or challenges to their learning and to support them to achieve their full potential. The CALL Scotland Centre provides services to our education system, local authorities and schools across Scotland, to teachers, to pupils and to parents and carers. For example, assistive technology with adaptations to support learning, online learning resources and digital exams. We also have a research centre called the Centre for Research in Digital Education, and that work centres on how technology, culture, learning and policy intersect within research and practice in digital education. And our work in digital education and considerations of artificial intelligence connects to all ages and stages of education, as well as the wider society, not only here in Scotland, but around the world. I'm delighted to now introduce you to and hand over to Professor Sian Bayne, who's going to tell you more about our Centre for Research in Digital Education, followed by colleagues Professor Judy Robertson and Dr. Ben Williamson.
Hi there, I'm Sian Bayne. I'm Professor of Digital Education and Director of the Centre for Research in Digital Education at Moray House. So our centre has been researching the impact of digital technology on education for more than a decade now, and we've conducted leading edge work through many trends and crises in this area, from virtual worlds to MOOCs to the COVID pivot, and now, of course, to AI. So a very strong research focus on AI is spread throughout all the strands of our work now, and we look particularly at questions around the responsible and ethical use of AI in schools and universities and education systems, and we aim to be both critical but also creative in our approach to doing this research and to sharing it with our many partners and stakeholders. Just to introduce the centre briefly, we have 4 research themes in our centre, each of which is doing work on AI, among other things. So we have our data education in schools theme, which is led by Professor Judy Robertson, and Judy is leading projects focused on responsible AI futures within schools, and you're going to hear a bit more about that directly from Judy shortly. But this work also draws in colleagues from 2 of our other themes within our centre, the digital cultures theme, which is led by Professor Jen Ross, and our children and technology theme, which is led by Professor Andrew Manches. Now, the focus of much of this work is primarily school education, but we also do quite a lot of work focused on higher education futures and lifelong learning, obviously incorporating elements of AI research as well. So, for example, in our data society theme, which is led by Dr. Ben Williamson, we do critical work on the educational technology industry and on AI infrastructures and practices in schools and universities. And you'll hear a bit more about this in a minute directly from Ben. We also have a project called AI for Teaching Innovation, which I'm leading, and this works with academics within the University of Edinburgh to help them develop working prototypes for higher education teaching within their discipline using generative AI, and we'll then support them to do research around the active use of these applications with students. So that's a very brief summary. Before I go, I did just wanted to mention that we do run 2 master's programs as well from within the centre. We have our MSc in Digital Education, which has been going since 2006, and it integrates practical and critical perspectives on digital education across all sectors. And we also have now the new MSc in Education Futures, which is one of the Edinburgh Futures Institute programmes. And both of these programmes weave consideration of AI and its impacts throughout their curricula and with very international student cohorts. So you can find out more about those on our website if you'd like to. But now I'm going to hand over to Judy, who's going to talk about the research that she leads in this area. Thanks very much.
Hi there, I'm Professor Judy Robertson. I work at the Centre for Research in Digital Education at Moray House at the University of Edinburgh. And I'm going to tell you a little bit today about our projects in data and AI literacy in schools. So we have a project which is about data literacy with primary and secondary school learners across the 6 local authorities around about Edinburgh, where our university is. And we're interested in the idea of data literacy. Data literacy is, we think, a foundational skill for understanding the world about you, for the ability to solve problems with data. And these are skills which are useful in everyday life, but also potentially useful for jobs in the future as well, because we know that there's a lot of jobs available in data science, for example. But data literacy isn't just vocational, it's an intellectual skill, which involves the ability to plan and propose questions about data, the ability to collect and analyse the data, but also to interpret it and to be able to communicate to other people what your findings are about. Although data literacy is of interest at the moment because there's so much data available which has been generated by technological devices, it can be taught in an unplugged way using toys and other playful techniques, for example, learning about categorisation of data by counting Lego bricks, as we have in the example in the slide here. Within the Data Education in Schools project, we have a curricular framework for data literacy, for data education, and how it links in with all the subjects across the curriculum. We have sets of teaching materials, including live lessons and downloadable resources, information for teachers like handbooks, and also we do a lot of professional learning workshops for teachers. Over the 5 years we've been working, we have engaged with a lot of children and teachers across our region. Just last week, for example, we were working with Maths Week Scotland, and just in the events in that week alone, we worked with about 13,500 learners in playful and engaging and fun ways to work with data. For example, with this escape room session online, where children had to solve puzzles with a storytelling element in order to escape from a secret base. They were playing secret agents and they were trying to outwit some villains. So these ways of working with learners in playful ways and finding ways to engage them with data, which otherwise might seem like a rather boring subject, is the hallmark of what we try to do. We're also interested at the moment in AI in education because this is an emerging area of interest, which really, of course, started with the emergence of ChatGPT in November 2022. And it's an opportunity, we believe, for us to consider the purpose of education, and especially in the light of what AI tools are capable of doing, the question remains, what should humans learn if machines can do all sorts of tasks which presumably previously would have been thought required a human to do a task intelligently? But instead of just thinking about AI as something which can be used for cheating or to be used for not so good purposes in school, we think it could be used in ways to transform learning. But the question is, how does it do that without undermining the rights of children or learners? And we have various projects investigating this. For example, we have a project which is consulting with children and young people about how they see that AI should be used in their schools. And we're using arts-based methods for that to give a range of learners and a range of different abilities a chance to give their views. And we've turned the arts-based methods we're using in that project into a futures toolkit, which we're co-creating with teachers, so that all teachers would be able to use this toolkit to find out what their learners think about the use of AI, how it should be used in school. We're also working with teachers to come up with materials about teaching and learning with AI in a variety of secondary school subjects. And we think this is important because, of course, not all teachers have the opportunity to upskill themselves. Some of them need some help and some guidance from other expert teachers in their area. We're also looking at some young people-led research about how currently secondary school learners use AI to support their learning, the interesting ways in which they might do that, because it informs us to some extent about how we might successfully incorporate it into the classroom. Because while some learners might be successfully using it now, not everybody has access and not everybody will be able to use it effectively. So we're trying to learn from what some learners do just now to level the playing field in the future. Thank you very much for listening. If you want to find out more about what we do in our projects, there's a series of resources here and our mailing list. And particularly, I would encourage you to have a look at the book about exploring the AI jungle, which is a picture book which explains the concepts behind generative AI to an audience of 11 and 12-year-old children. And it comes with a teacher's guide as well. Thank you very much and enjoy the rest of the conference.
While AI might be used responsibly and ethically in education, it's also important to pay attention to critical social scientific research on the risks of digital technologies. I'm Ben Williamson. I'm a senior lecturer at the Centre for Research in Digital Education at Moray House School of Education and Sport. I'm also part of a major project at the ESRC Centre for Socio-Digital Futures, a £10 million investment in interdisciplinary research investigating how digital futures get claimed and built, and how futures could be imagined differently to address urgent questions of equality and sustainability. The Centre's work recognises that digital technologies are always produced and embedded in the social world. They are socio-digital, not only digital. That means we can always imagine them otherwise, with the participation of a wider range of social groups. Part of our current work is assessing how an AI-driven future of education is currently being claimed. So we're asking, who is claiming authority on the AI future of education? What actions in the present do these claims catalyse? And what are the consequences? Or what are the alternatives? That means we see AI not just as digital innovation, but as a socio-digital issue that requires much better deliberation and consideration. At least 3 socio-digital issues associated with AI need addressing before we further embed this technology in our education systems. First, introducing AI into education at this stage almost inevitably means embedding the technical systems of big tech and big AI conglomerates into our schools and universities. Education and technology companies are making speculative and often unsubstantiated promises of the transformative potential of AI for learning and teaching. Let's not forget that AI, generative AI especially, is not yet profitable. Big AI's excursions into education are about building out market opportunities. These companies also have a very narrow view of education as a linear process of acquisition of qualifications for work that can be improved and accelerated with tech. So we need to reassert important educational values, purposes, and principles in our deliberations over AI in education, not simply accept these claims and promises. Second, the social history of technology demonstrates that no tech is ever used exactly as its advocates hope. When technology meets social context, things don't play out as expected. That includes examples of non-use or rejection. It also includes political contexts. What about when AI lands in political contexts where ideological control of the curriculum is a key aim? What happens when AI ends up in political contexts where teachers and teaching are already undermined and underfunded? The code of AI will mix with contexts of use, two ends that we urgently need to anticipate and preemptively mitigate where possible. And third, most AI is unexplainable. It's what we call non-transparent black boxes. That means we can't inspect the choices and decisions it makes. We can't tell if it goes wrong or if it's producing persuasive sounding falsehoods riddled with biases from its training. The problem is, if we embed it in our education systems and it proves to be rotten, do we have ways to get it out? Tech companies are already very clever about getting educational customers locked into their services through long-term contracts and license payment agreements. If AI goes wrong for unexplainable reasons or simply doesn't work as hoped, what are the mechanisms that need putting in place to remove it? These 3 problems then surface the importance of seeing AI as socio-digital, not just digital. They also highlight why it's desirable to consider alternative socio-digital designs for AI in education. And that's the important work that we're doing at the Centre for Socio-Digital Futures. Thank you very much.
Thank you for listening to our overview of some of our research, teaching, knowledge exchange and innovation related to digital education and artificial intelligence. We have a wealth of expertise in this area. Here at Moray House School of Education and Sport, we have recently celebrated our 175th anniversary. And while we will build on our legacy and strengths, our vision is to innovate and further strengthen our position as one of the leading centres of research, impact and teaching in education and in sport, locally and globally. We are committed to internationalism, innovation and social transformation, underpinned by values of social justice, equity, inclusivity, diversity and accessibility. We would welcome the opportunity to connect further with members of the Global Education Deans Forum and to consider collaborative possibilities. While the theme for this forum is artificial intelligence, To harness this ethically, educationally and appropriately will require human intelligence and relationships, including among our universities. We look forward to being part of the work ahead with you. Thank you.